Life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God. Well, in a world where challenges are plentiful, it's easy for us to feel discouraged. Yet, with enough guidance and support, most people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. Well, beyond your fears is everything you ever dreamed of. For the DrSTem Show, we'll give the voiceless a voice and the hopeless hope. And now, here she is, DrSTem.
Hello, real quick, before we get into the show, I wanted to invite you to a free 7-day manifesting challenge. Here's the thing. I believe that we all are capable and able to achieve our dreams and desires at any time. But we have to know how to be receptive, how to manifest and receive that which we are asking for. So for 7 days, I'll be sending you an audio or video for you to watch and then do the things that I say in that video. And then after 7 days, I can't wait. I'm so excited to hear what comes up for you, what you'll be able to achieve. So visit our website, www.drstemi.com and www.drstemspeaks.com. Now, let's get into the show. Hello, and welcome to another segment of the DrSTem Show. I feel like screaming and yelling to say, waterfalls in the house. Hi, Doc. Welcome to the show.
Hey, DrSTem, my goodness, my queen. How are you, ma'am?
I'm so well. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. And
it's such a pleasure and an honor to be here.
This is Dr. Tsitsi Mercy, you all. She's one of our speakers for this year's 3rd annual Bounce Back Empowerment Conference 2022, which is on December 17th. Oh my God, we cannot wait. We are so excited. So she's gracing us from the UK. If you have seen the flyers, she is the doctor that's visiting us from the UK and she will be with us virtual. So before I begin the conversation, let me take a pause so that we can play a video to introduce the good doctor to all of you. Okay, so Doc, I said at the beginning, I mentioned, waterfalls in the house. Can you tell a little bit of our audience, because they have no idea, except if you're from Zimbabwe, why I said waterfalls in the house?
That is such an interesting way of introducing waterfalls in the house. Like, who's saying who is waterfalls and what is waterfalls? What has that got to do with it? But it's always, DrSTem, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'm tremendously blessed. So what is waterfalls? So waterfalls was an area, or is an area in Zimbabwe that DrSTem and her family lived, and Dr. Mercy and her family lived. And it was the place to be. I mean, I don't know where you guys grew up, but if you know anything about the nation of Zimbabwe during our time when we were growing up, waterfalls was the place to be. That's where you found all the cool girls, man. Come on.
too much. You know, and the interesting thing about it, right?
So
we didn't recognize that we were the cool girls, like, you know, the cool girls that we have been made out to be, though.
We didn't get the memo.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I am doing this interview with Dr. Tsitsi today. It is for all of you, you know, that know her work, that will be hearing her at the conference, to really know who she is and, you know, what drives her. Why is she so compassionate? So I'm going to take her back. You know, I know before the interview, she's like, what are we talking about? You know, are we going to, I said, don't worry about it, because we want to know who this young girl, this lady is, so that we can inspire, motivate, and encourage another woman who's trying to find herself, another girl who's trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? Am I worthy? Can I do this? And that's the reason why I bring you all these powerhouse, you know, women from around the world, so that if they can do it, you also can do it. But what do we learn from their lives and from who they are? So I'm going to take you all the way back, you know, Doc. I know you live in the UK now. Tell us about the journey of, you know, this young lady that you were, your dreams, and how you end up in the UK, so that we can go into the journey of what you've been doing now with your life.
Sure. So I grew up, I was born in a very beautiful little ghetto called Kambuzuma. As a little girl, my mom and my dad were working around that area. My mom was working at the local clinic, and so I was born in Kambuzuma, and I lived in Kambuzuma up to until I think I was about four years, and my parents moved to Waterfalls, which was a very interesting transition for us, because here is a little girl who's coming from playing raka raka in the streets, you know, tutamba nodo, tuite, you know, just being the Black, beautiful African girls that we are and that we were, and now changing to be going into areas which were considered back then as masabab. But you know, yeah, so my parents bought a house in Waterfalls in an area called Mackenzie. So we were in Mackenzie Road to start with, and we lived there for most of my I think I would say half part of my primary school. And it was a very interesting transition because, you know, we went into this area called Waterfalls with preconceived ideas, having been told, you know, you don't do certain things, you carry yourself in a certain way, there's a way that you know, you don't walk around doing certain things. And so I think in a way I may have lost my identity a little bit in that, because when you are a little girl who's used to just running around the streets and knowing that you could go 3 or 4 houses away from your house and you're safe, and you know, we grew up in a place where it was a village. We were raised in a village. I'm talking about the mindset. We're raised in that way where, you know, you could just be, your neighbor was your auntie, yes. The other neighbor was an aunt and an uncle. There was just this really tight family unit. And I felt that by the time we transitioned to go and stay in Waterfalls, that part of me kind of was left behind. And so we began a journey of life in the, you know, in the 4 walls of our Juro, where life was just about you and your family. But I thank God, because Waterfalls became my home. It became the place that really shaped me into being a young woman. I went to a primary school called Frank Johnson, and I absolutely loved being at Frank Johnson. My best you know, memories of being at Frank Johnson is just being being a prefect and a deputy head girl and wearing that sash and looking all cool. But yeah, so those were my my early, I would say young memories of being in primary school. But having said that, I was very much a girl who grew up surrounded by prayer warriors. Like my life was, my weekend was in church. And so I knew that the minute Friday comes, there's Friday prayer meeting, there's Saturday, it could be community work we're doing. So I was always, treading along, being with my parents, making sure that, I was doing something significant in the community. And I loved that. And I think that's part and parcel of who shaped and how I'm shaped to be where I am today.
I think I made a mistake. I yelled, waterfalls in the house. Guess what? She just reminded me, Kambuzuma and waterfalls. Because I also grew up in Kambuzuma. I was born in Bare, but my parents were living in Kambuzuma. So we stayed and lived in Kambuzuma and then moved to the suburbs in waterfalls. So tell me, Doc, this young girl that is going to Frank Johnson, right? Primary school. What are your dreams at that time, if you remember? What were your dreams? What did you see yourself, grown up?
It's an interesting question that you ask, Dr. Stem, because somehow between the time that you were actually born and the time that you transition from being a little girl who is still relying on her mom for her daily, milk for nutrients and to grow, and to the time where you become that little girl who's beginning to find her feet and going into primary school, I think I would say that that was the time where I kind of like discovered my talent. But as I grew, I realized that actually my talent is something that was sitting between my passion and my calling. And so this little girl grew up thinking, I want to be able to speak life, but what is it that I want to speak to people? So I did a lot of public speaking, and I won quite a number of, public speaking medals and whatnot. I was very passionate about that, about my voice being heard. And so you find that now where I am, I use my voice and to influence in any way or capacity that I can for creating a safe space for women and the girl child. So that has always been my passion. And like I said, I don't look at it now as a talent. Like I speak very little, Doc, very little of talent, because I choose to relate that little girl growing up, the assignment upon her life to be her passion and her calling, and her talent somewhere, somehow finds itself in there. And so you ask, what is this little girl's passion and this little girl's calling? My passion and my life calling, now that I'm a grown woman, is really being actively involved in anything and everything that represents injustice towards women and girls. That is where this little girl has found her space in this big world that is so challenging, that is so opinionated, that has many stigmas attached to women. And so where this woman sees a woman or a girl child being treated unfairly, whether it's in a workspace, whether it's in a career advancement situation, whether it's in church, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's an opportunity to sit on a board of directors, whatever it may be, or maybe just to run for office or run to be a prime minister, anywhere that I see an opportunity for a woman to scale to greater heights and she's being sabotaged, my heart becomes very restless. And until I have provided some sort of solution, I don't know whether this has a lot to do with where I'm coming from as a little girl, but I take it very personal, Dr. Stem. And I would say I take it so personal that we now have created a space out of this passion, a space where we are providing training, we are providing support, we're providing equipment, empowering women, you know, it just and putting out projects that have significant contribution to the well-being of a woman. It's because of where this little girl came from in life.
Very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And that takes us to that logo that is behind you, because I know it signifies probably one of the proudest, organizations that you're running, because you're running multiple things, as I know in there. Tell us about that program, especially the one that you run for women.
Okay, so I think to bring it into context and to understand the law behind me, Equipped for Excellence Women's Ministry, you've got to understand where I learned, or where I got what I would call maybe the passion and the drive. Yes. You would understand what the logo is.
Okay.
So my biggest learning platform and passion really was observing my mother. And my mom died at the very young, fresh age of 45. She died when she was passionately pursuing, her calling. And 45, I mean, she had barely lived. She had barely lived. And so she died at the age of 45, at the very peak of her calling. Like I said, she had barely lived. So when she passed away, when my mother passed away, it really affected me in a very significant way, because she was still bubbling. She was bubbling in her, and she was only beginning to walk her path. And there is a saying that Les Brown talks about, and he says that in the graveyard is the richest place on earth.
Yeah.
And it's true, Doc, because
yes,
it's in the graveyard where you will find all the hopes that were never, fulfilled, all the songs that were never sung, all the inventions that were never shared, all the companies that were never started. I mean, that's just so many unfulfilled dreams that are in the graveyard. And my mother's life is a typical example of that, of passion, and a woman who went to the grave before fulfilling her assignment. And so growing up, I was observing this woman. I observed this woman who had passion, who had the zeal to change the status quo and break the glass ceiling. I watched my mom do things that really, I even up to now, I think, Mom, how did you do that? But I did not have the pleasure of seeing her fulfill that assignment and having a platform to fulfill that assignment. So I'm trying to explain the issue of this logo. And Doc, I was born, I'm not ashamed to say, I was born in the 60s. Okay. And I grew up in the era where the older women I looked up to.
Yes.
They could not occupy positions of authority. I didn't see the older women that surrounded me as being women that could do what they wanted to do. I felt that they were not heard, they were not seen. I grew up in a time where society, where culture, where religion had boundary structures that really disadvantaged women and the girl child. And so, yes, my mother's life, or rather her inability to fulfill her assignment, is a great driving force to what I do, but it is her life that has got me to where this logo is behind me. This logo is a representation of the woman who is out there, who has been disadvantaged, whether by culture, disadvantaged by community, disadvantaged by religion, and a woman whose rights have been taken away from her, a woman who has been denied a place in society and in community. And so what you find with that logo is a passion to want to increase value and to bring relevance in a woman's life. That's what that logo is about. And the mantra behind that logo is one woman and one girl at a time. That means we're not looking to impact the whole world in one go. No, one individual at a time.
Powerful, powerful. I mean, it shows that there is a spirit that is bigger than you, that is driving this ministry and helping you change so many women's lives. So I want to commend you for having the courage to do that, because there are many that get this whisper that I need to do something, to start something for me to impact lives. And then many are scared. And I think what I'm also hearing from you is you are here to equip them, to encourage them, to say, do not be scared to be who you were born to be or who you're called to be, because there's so much excellence, within you. And there's so much that you can do once you get the information. Because I believe that, every woman with the right information and the right support, we are unstoppable.
Absolutely. I agree with you there, DrSTem. I think this is one of the things that has been a great, encouragement to us, or maybe a great consistency in what you do. As you know, I support and work with women who are victims of domestic violence, who have experienced, who are victims of human trafficking, who are, victims of injustice. And what we find, or rather what I find especially, is that women who are behind bars, who know that they are here for a specific time and why they are there, compared to the woman who is outside, who is also bound, who is also, going through a season in her life where she's hard pressed on every side, and she's in a cage of some sort. And she might not think that she's jail, but she actually is in a jail. And so you find that most of the things that we are doing with the different projects we are doing behind with Equip for Excellence is exactly that, trying to get women outside, to get them out of the four walls that have really put them in a place that is very a crazy, painful place where a woman can't maneuver. Like socially, she can't maneuver, economically, she can't maneuver, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and never mind financially, she can't maneuver. There are no resources available to her. There are no projects that are available to her. She hasn't got the ability to start a project and see it to the finishing line, because there are just not enough resources available to her. She doesn't have the information. So we come alongside that woman to say, look, here we are as Equipped for Excellence. What can we do to help you? What do you need at this particular moment in time? And so we get into a lot of the issues that are happening in women's life. Many of the projects and programs that we're doing with the women who are behind the bars are just absolutely incredible. I can go into that later on, but I hope I've answered your question there.
Yeah, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Now, I have this young woman, or middle age, or old women like we are. I can't believe that. I used to think, old, when they were like in their 40s, they were old, right? And now I'm 57, turning 58 in a couple months, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm really old. So old women like us that are watching us, in this show, and they're thinking, okay, Dr. Mercy, how can you help, me as a woman, because then I just don't think I got it in you? Where can they get you? What programs do you provide for the women that are listening now? Because then, you know what, after listening and hearing you, everybody's pumped up now, like, okay, you know what, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to make a difference in my life. What can you do with them, and where can they find you?
Awesome. You know, Dr. Stem, one of the things that I like to encourage women to know and to understand is that I'm just finding a long-winded way of answering your question.
You've been doing that.
Yeah. I believe that my candle does not go off lighting another woman's candle. And if this is something that we can grasp in this generation, that as long as there is someone holding a candle in order to light your path, so you can see clearly, so you can maneuver through life easier. If there's a woman who is willing to hold the candle, and if there's a generation of women that are willing to say, okay, the generation coming after me, I will hold that candle. I will light your path so that you see clear. You see better than how I saw. And what took me ages and ages to achieve is not going to take you ages, because I'm here as your learning pad, is your launching pad. Everything that I did wrong, you don't need to go through that. Look at my life, see where I am, and take it as a lesson, if you like. You don't have to go through the trenches that I went through, because I've got the scars to show that it's not worth it. So I'm going to be able to stand there and help you, along. If we have a generation of women who are willing to hold the candle and allow another woman's path to shine bright, then we are going somewhere. And so that has been my belief for a very long time, that as long as there are women who are oppressed out there, as long as there are women who are denied an opportunity to thrive, Dr. Stem, as long as there are women who have been marginalized, as long as there are women who have limited access to education, limited access to healthcare, as long as there are women who are physically, mentally, sexually exploited and violated, then mercy's work on this side of life is still a lot to do. And so I try and encourage people to say, listen, when you join our programs, we are here to solve problems that we are facing. We are here to solve problems that women are facing. So the problems that women are facing are not just cultural. They are not just religious. There are also problems that are economical problems that women are facing. There are also issues of physical, mental, sexual exploitations that women, and not only the woman, it's the woman and her girl child that they are facing. So how you can come alongside with us is to say, identify that woman, whether it's in your workspace, identify that woman, whether it's in your family, in your bloodline, identify that woman, come alongside us. And we provide programs that will not only open the eyes of understanding and get them to understand their rights, but also to signpost them in the right direction. So we are a hub of information. So we know the professionals that you need for your situation. We have them on our board, and we know how we can be able to assist you. And you know what? This is a really God-ordained passion and a God-ordained gift that's in me. It's because of what I grew up seeing that I then got to this place.
Where can they find you?
I like that. Where can they find me? Okay, so there are different ways of finding us. On Facebook, we you can look me up, Dr. Tsitsi Mercy DTM. On Instagram, you can look us up, Tsitsi Mercy DTM. On YouTube, you can find us under Dr. Tsitsi Mercy. On Twitter, You can find us under Tsitsi Mercy Doc. Our website is www.equippedforexcellence.com. The 4 is a numerical number, so www.equippedforexcellence.com. Our email is admin@equippedforexcellence.org.uk. So easy to find us.
And we're going to have all those links. We're going to have all those links, when you have, wherever you're going to see this, whether it's in a podcast or even on our YouTube channel, you have all her contacts so that you can just click and then you can get to reach her. All right, let's have some fun. We're going to have some fun. These ones.
Let's have some fun.
You can't have, you cannot go around. I need one answer and just, whatever comes, we want to get to know you, right? All right, let's go. Favorite color?
My favorite color, it's a mixture of black and white. I love a lot of black and white mixture. So when you have it could be polka dots, it could be striped, it could be, just as long as it's a mixture of the black and white. I love that. But I love to match it with a chicky pink or a chicky green, but just black and white would be my favorite color.
The one favorite thing that you like to do for fun. What's the one favorite thing you like to do for fun?
For fun, I love to play tennis. Funny enough, I grew up playing tennis. In high school, I played tennis. In primary school, I played tennis. And every now and again, I go out, I take my granddaughter and we go to the, indoor tennis and we play a bit of tennis. So I love playing tennis. However, there are some things I love doing. Like I love binge watching on good old rom-coms. I really am that girl. I really am.
Awesome. Are you married?
Yes, I'm married. I've been married for 33 good years. We're going on to 34 now. I am a mother. I'm a mother of 2 beautiful children, a 33-year-old man. Forgive me, Leroy. 33-year-old man and a 25-year-old girl. I'm also a grandmother. I'm a glam mom. That's one of the most awesome, beautiful offices I could ever hold on this side of life, is being a grandmother, and I love it.
Awesome. Do you believe in God?
Oh my goodness. That is my anchor. That is my anchor. If everything that we do around the mission that God has given us on this side of life has to do with what God has ordained us to do. And so you find that the programs that we do, I'm glad you asked that, because also the programs that we do, DrSTem, is that we are not allowed to enforce religion on the women that we serve. We are not allowed to do that. However, the nature of our programs and our projects, you can see for yourself that actually this woman is coming from somewhere. If you are a Christian, you will be able to pinpoint and see for yourself that, I see now. It makes sense now. I remember we were in one of the female prisons, and we were having one of our workshops in there, and we were doing a very interesting topic, which I might not want to say out loud on this platform, but we were doing an interesting topic, and it had to do with sexual health of women who are behind bars, and when they come out, and how they can help themselves so that they are not so that they don't feel as if they're being judged by society and whatnot. And so we're talking about that, and a lot of that particular workshop had a lot to do with women's sexuality. And one of the women then turned around and said to me, one of the things that you have said to me is don't forget to do good, and don't forget to share what you have, because God is pleased with your sacrifices. And don't forget to do good. Whenever you, even when you look at your body, do good to your body. Be proud of who you are. And so I spoke a lot about that. Then I mentioned in that workshop that your body is actually like a temple. I didn't want to say your body is the temple. I said your body is like a temple. A temple is where only good things stay, you know, and only the wonderful things stay. And so look after your body as if you're looking after the temple, something that is honorable. And this girl comes up to me later and she says, Miss, can I ask you? Yeah, they call us Miss in there. Miss, can I ask, are you a Christian? And I said, yes, I am. And I love that, because you can win a tender through the government of supplying workshops and supplying projects. And you can win a tender and not even say anything about your religion. But the minute you start to provide that service, people see your heart. They see your heart. And so, yes, I'm a Christian. I am not ashamed to call myself, you know, a woman of God. I'm not afraid to call myself a preacher, because that's who I am. And so, yes, I am a Christian. I am born again Christian. I am a tongue talking Christian. I'm a Bible carrying, devil bashing, you name it. And yes, I am a child of God. And that's why I do what I do.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm already past my time, but I let her go on with what one answers, and they became, you know, like long. You know why I did that? I want to, you know, just explain this. Many of the women that Dr. Mercy and myself meet and work with are women that are really doubting who they are. They're doubting their talent. They're not listened to. They don't feel like they can be heard. But many a time what I've found is when we continue to speak from the heart and talk and do the things that we are just led to do. And, you know, I mean, we're not, as Dr. Mercy is saying, imposing our belief or anything on anyone, but we're talking about what drives us. I know that everything that I do is spirit-led. So I know that what I do, and, you know, I also get help from the God up above, you know, who I, you know, truly believe in, right? So I let her talk all that so that you can see how much wisdom that she has and how much impact that she has on these women's life. And you could tell that that's her passion. So if you're one woman that is looking to say, what am I passionate about? Start listening and start feeling, because you can tell when you hit a button on somebody, or somebody asks you about something and you start talking about it and you just can't stop, because there's something in you that is just jumping in and saying, oh my, I love working in prison and I love telling this kind of stories. And I could see that I hit that button where it's not work for her, it's a calling, you know, that she does. So I am going to ask you for a minute of something that you want this audience to know about you, because I know many more will be seeking your wisdom and seeking to work with you, Pastor.
Thanks, Doc. Two things I want to touch before, you know, on that. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. It's about, one, finding your passion, and number two, it's about the work that we actually do. So this would be what I would want people to understand out there, that there are women, DrSTem, that are privately bleeding. Mm-hmm. There are women who are hemorrhaging emotionally, they're hemorrhaging mentally, they are hemorrhaging relationally, they are hemorrhaging financially. And these women have been judged. These are women that have been judged and sentenced by society. They've been judged and sentenced by culture. They have been judged and sentenced by tradition. They have been judged and sentenced by religion. And so these are women who have put invisible limitations around themselves because of their circumstances. They have not brought it upon themselves. It's their circumstances. And these are women who I feel, personally, I feel a great sense of responsibility for, I see myself, DrSTem, as my sister's keeper. I'm that woman standing next to me, or that woman who is in the corner shop, or that woman who is sitting on the train. I am that woman who is her keeper. When I see something that is not quite right, God help me to make sure that I open my mouth and be able to protect her. So these are the women that I feel a great sense of responsibility for. You know, I have a passion, DrSTem, to want to make a difference in women's lives. But how do I make that difference? So where I am called and where I am assigned, and where the majority of our projects and our our commitment to is for women of faith who are behind bars. This is something that I've not spoken a lot about, because we do a lot of work behind the scenes, and we are encouraged and mandated to sign our, to put a signature onto making sure that we don't cross and we don't cross or breach any kind of confidentiality. But Women of Faith Behind Bars is an initiative that Equipped for Excellence Women's Ministry is working on at the moment, where we are supporting training marginalized women with the experience of criminal justice system. That means we are providing skills trainings. We are providing skills training and personal development programs that help reduce the reoffending rates. Now, why are we doing that? Because if the truth be told, there are women of faith behind bars. And our assignment is to help reduce the reoffending rates, but also change the narrative around the ethnic minority women who are in prison, or ethnic minority women of faith who are in prison. I say this because it was a shock to me when I realized that every time we are going in, we have the privilege of going in as a ministry, as a church, to go into prisons and do prison visits. We meet with different individuals, DrSTem, and then you realize that actually this individual, they are in here. Yes, they may have committed the crime, but many of them are in there because they are, it was not something that they thought they would end up in prison. Many of the women who are behind bars, DrSTem, are victims of circumstances. And so they may not have been hardcore, criminals. They are victims of circumstances. So here is a woman who has suffered domestic violence and domestic abuse for years and years and years. And one day, something snapped and she made the wrong decision. And she ends up behind bars. So these are women that we are going out of our way, DrSTem, to come alongside, to support them, to provide training, so that when they are ready to be integrated back into the community, Equipped for Excellence is standing there. Dr. Mercy is standing there. On the day you are released, if there's no family member to pick you up, Dr. Mercy and her team, they are there to pick you up. And when we pick you up, we are not picking you up empty-handed. We are saying, look, you may not want to go back to your family or to go back into the same place where you committed the crime. What we have done while you are behind bars is we have gone out of our way to look for shelter for you. We have looked for everything you need to make sure that it's a home, just to avoid that reoffending rate for the Black ethnic minority women of faith who are behind bars, because there's a stigma attached to us. And we are trying our level best to make sure that we change the narrative. We change that so that women, when they come out of prison, DrSTem, there is hope. There are programs available. She can be able to rebuild her life. and it's a joy for me to be doing that, because like I said, there are women who are hemorrhaging, there are those behind bars, then there are those we are working with in community who are still going through the same thing. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to help humanity, in that way. Number two of your question.
I could talk to you for life. So you know what? It sounds like we're gonna have to have a part 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
We don't.
So thank you so much for having graced us with your presence today. This was Dr. Tsitsi Mercy Chieza. She's president, she's a pastor, she's a leader, she's a guide, she's an encourager, a speaker, and a coach. So all of those things and all of those roles, you definitely can hire her to come encourage, your organization, your women that, you're working with. But most of all, I think I want to leave all of you with, this ask, that as you heard, the women that, Equipped for Excellence, works with, are women that are in need of assistance. So any way that you can assist the organization so that they have enough to give each and every woman that they will be helping out, I think that would have been worth it for this show. So whether it's monetary, that you can, help them in monetary funds, your time, to give them your time, you can always, visit Dr. Mercy on all of those social media platforms. She does have assistants that will be able to, schedule you to talk to her so that you can see where the need is. Because having that help and having the resources, trust me, I've learned throughout the years, we cannot motivate, inspire, encourage without having to give people a way to start, a beginning, and it all takes money. Absolutely. There's nothing that you can do without money. So without that money, I don't care how good she is at encouraging people, motivating them and helping these women. If they don't have a start and they don't have enough money to start something that they can say, you know what, I'm committed to start this year, then it's continuing, that cycle again of being with the people that will abuse them so that they can be taken care of and they can take care of their, their children. So I want to ask, for that we reach out to her so that we can assist and give so that they have enough resources for them. As I said, I could talk to her forever, so I'm not even going to ask her one more thing. I will invite her over. We can do a live. I think this is, going to be nice where we can do a live. You all can ask questions and she can answer some questions. I can answer some questions, for you, because you can see her belly is full. She's got a lot that she wants to share and also can be helpful. So see us and come and listen to her. Her topic is totally different from what she spoke about today. So on December 17th, we are having Dr. Tsitsi Mercy as one of our guest speakers. That is at the Bounce Back Empowerment Conference for Women, which is also about equipping the woman so that she can have all that she needs to bounce back. As I always say, this is DrSTem. Be encouraged.